Good Monday evening, Northern Michigan. Thanks for joining us for Unscripted at 6:30. Cody Bear filling in for Maya Engel today. And we had some rain earlier today, but right now it looks kind of nice, at least from what I've seen. Joe, is that still the case? Is it still blue skies out there right now after the rain earlier, or is there rain again?
No, most areas dry, and I think we'll hold on to that through the rest of the night tonight for most spots. So looks like a decent evening coming up here for much of the area, maybe a few clouds here and there. It's going to be a warm night, though. So, again, another night where probably the fan or the AC overnight tonight. But they're, looking ahead here, Cody, there are signs we're going to kind of drop the humidity a little bit later in the week. That'll be kind of nice, just get a little break. And, that'll come with a few storms tomorrow as that front arrives. But we'll talk about that. And also, one other thing, maybe some smoke back in the forecast. So we'll dive into all that a little bit later.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Now for our top story tonight, if you ask most kids how fast the first day of class is coming, for many of them enjoying summer vacation, the answer is probably pretty quickly. But the clock is also ticking fast for school leaders and lawmakers who have missed a self-imposed July 1st deadline to reach a school funding deal. As our Mark Gillette reports, a request is now being made of parents.
Just because they're not going to do their job in Lansing doesn't mean we're not going to do our job in Suttons Bay.
Superintendent Casey Petz doesn't hold back when you ask about the struggles schools all around the state are dealing with in dealing without a school budget.
The most do-nothing legislative session in the history of Michigan legislative session. Nobody's done less than none.
But budgeting and planning for a school district is tough when you don't know how much money you have to work with, what the state will cover, including providing funding for free meals for all. The Democrats' plan supports funding it. The Republican plan calls for increasing per-pupil funding, but not directly covering the cost of meals.
We wanted to really free up these schools to spend what they believe they should be spending on. If a school thinks that we just want to help the underserved kids, and they're gonna go that route. I mean, it really opens the school up to do what they want.
Representative Fairbairn knows the clock's ticking and the schools want to know what costs they'll be covering, but says the process is what it is.
I think there's some politics being played, but this really is the process of our government. I mean, it's meant to move slowly and be very deliberate.
But Suttons Bay schools aren't waiting. Regardless of what happens in the budget, they're going to feed their students because they see it as a basic requirement for learning.
We plan to offer a breakfast or a school-provided breakfast or lunch to every single student who needs one.
They aren't alone on that, but admit, depending on what plan wins in Lansing, cuts could have to be made.
We would have to start looking at what other programs, services, or things, including, in some cases for districts, it's going to be staff.
But while lawmakers deal and school districts wait, both agree there's something every parent should actually be doing right now.
This is a task a parent can do. If you want to help your kids, if you want to help all kids in the school, just fill out the form.
They're encouraging every parent to fill out the free and reduced lunch application.
It could be the difference of your school or school district getting funding from the feds that they may not get otherwise.
State and federal funds for meal programs at schools are in question right now. For years, kids got fed in our schools regardless of the degree of need. That could change. And without an application filled out, with shifts in the possible parameters for what schools qualify, taking time now to apply could have a dramatic impact sooner or later down the budgetary road.
This is a real tangible, this is actually a work task. If you want your kids to be successful in school, whether they're going to be taking advantage of the free and reduced meal programs at public ed institutions, just fill out the form.
That was Mark Gillette reporting. Both school leaders and lawmakers are again urging parents to fill out the application for free and reduced meals regardless of the budget outcome. You can check with your local school or online as to how to do that. Meantime, the governor making an appearance on the west side of the state, speaking in Grand Rapids in the run-up to back to school. Governor Whitmer says the impacts of tariff-induced higher prices are already being felt. Those financial impacts hitting parents during those back-to-school shopping trips, and in many cases, blowing back on the teachers themselves who frequently buy many of their classroom supplies. Take a listen.
As I was here talking with some of the teachers, just going and buying hand sanitizer, is $40 for one of the big bottles. I mean, we're all feeling it already, and without some specific policy and some reasonable policies when it comes to Canada and Mexico in particular, it's only going to get tougher.
This comes after another recent meeting between the governor and the president in Washington, when Whitmer says she outlined the broad impacts of trade taxes on all of Michigan. And our question of the day has to do with back to school shopping. Our question is today, are you spending more on school supplies this year? Currently, the vote is 42% saying yes, 58% saying no. There is still time to vote on our website, UpNorthLive.com, and our UpNorthLive Facebook page. A big celebration on the Lake Michigan shoreline today. The village of Alberta is marking the grand opening of Alberta Beach, revealing major improvements to accessibility and public amenities. The event was hosted by the Village of Alberta with support from groups like the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund and the Greenpoint Flyers. The village unveiled new ADA accessible walkways, modern restrooms, a shaded picnic pavilion, and expanded parking, making this local treasure more inclusive and welcoming to all.
The Village of Alberta has allowed us to land here. And we, of course, could land anywhere along the beach, but this is such a convenient place, obviously. And it's one of our favorite beaches for swimming, my family included. So that's why it means so much. And then to see the development here is just a bonus.
Families also got in on the fun with kite flying and a meet and greet with the people behind the project. Organizers say it's just the beginning of more beach-focused events to come. Shifting gears a little bit, municipalities across Michigan are getting a financial boost from marijuana funds. It's money distributed back to local governments for recreational marijuana dispensaries operating in their limits. While some have already decided where that marijuana money is going, Grand Traverse County is taking a slightly different approach. As our Allie Baxter reports, Grand Traverse County commissioners want to hear from organizations who believe they have a worthy investment that would benefit from these marijuana dollars.
It's some of this green that gets a lot of this green for Grand Traverse County.
For 2025, that amount was $931,000 and some change.
And County Administrator Nate Alger says for the last couple years, that's been the consistent amount, based on 16 recreational facilities within the county boundaries.
These dollars are a little different than the opioid dollars. The opioid dollars have specific purposes that you have to use those funds for. The cannabis or marijuana dollars, there are no restrictions. We can use these funds for whatever we would like to use them for.
For county commissioners, no restrictions means a lot of different uses to choose from.
The county isn't really good at giving away money or granting money. In fact, the county has to have an agreement for every dollar that we give away.
Most municipalities have already doled out where they want their marijuana money to go, and most place it in a general fund for operations. But Grand Traverse County commissioners wanted a fair and transparent process in place.
Our board decided that we want to have some type of a local grant initiative with the marijuana funds. The ad hoc committee met and decided that would be roughly a 50-50 split. So if we get $1 million a year, we'll have about $500,000 a year to grant.
Now any organization has a chance to apply for a piece of the pie. They just have to fill out a 5-page application and explain how their idea would be a meaningful investment and align with the county's strategic goals.
I would like these dollars to go just to improve the community all around. Organizations that are 501c3s, faith-based organizations, and so on, those organizations often need money that they just don't have to advance their initiative.
Thanks to our Allie Baxter for that story. Now on a national scale, we know most kids do it every day, watching TV, playing games, or scrolling on their phones. But a new study by the American Heart Association about screen time for young kids is highlighting a serious concern. Health officials say all of that screen time could come with health risks down the road. Ava Ray has more on what parents need to know.
Screen time. It's a daily part of life for most kids. But how does it affect them long term? According to new research published by American Heart Association, researchers in Denmark tracked over 1,000 children and teens, measuring screen time, sleep, and metabolic health data over time.
We are constantly on screens. We constantly are on a phone, looking at a tablet or an iPad, looking at a TV, and that is not ever going to go away. So once there was an initial link between possible issues of heart disease, high blood pressure, with screen time, that was where kind of the initial idea for the study came along.
The study found that each hour of screen time increased a child's risk for early signs of heart and metabolic issues. And when screen time is combined with too little sleep, that risk grows.
The link between screen time and then the cardiometabolic risk was strongest among youth who slept fewer hours, suggesting that the screen time may be harming their health and even, stealing the time away from their sleep. And so, again, looking at maybe putting a phone down an hour or two before bed.
But how can families decrease this risk without cutting out electronics?
Screens are never going to go away. We know that that's not happening. But you can also make a very conscious effort on how much screen time you are having on a daily or a weekly basis and compare it to your amount of movement per week.
A 61-year-old Michigan man passed away, but he was so close to finishing a restoration project of his favorite muscle car from the 1970s. But an automotive shop in his community dropped everything to get the classic Roadrunner back on the road for the family ahead of Richard's funeral. Peter Maxwell shows us how a little kindness can go a long way.
Wasn't just for this chance encounter that Ryan had met Roy and his whole operation that none of this would have come together. We used to call it the rolling chassis. That's what he did.
61-year-old Richard Wilson had a love for classic cars, especially his 1970 Roadrunner in limelight green. But for the last 25 years, the Roadrunner was not running, even after putting a new engine in nearly 2 years ago.
We never got it running because it still had a lot of things that needed to be sorted out.
But Richard was determined to get his beloved Roadrunner running. And he did, but passed away on Sunday, never being able to get behind the wheel and take it for a ride.
He was able to hear it run for the first time in 25 years on Friday, right before he passed on Sunday.
He was right there. I mean, it was like the 10-yard line.
Still wanting to see his stepdad's dream come true, Ryan Chaskin made a call to Roy at Motor City Solutions, an auto shop known for their passion of restoring classic cars. Roy said they could help without hesitation.
Let's get the car here. That's what we do.
The mission? To ensure this beloved classic muscle car is ready in time for Richard's funeral, his final farewell, and a chance for it to head to the Woodward Dream Cruise, Richard's goal this year. Roy and the team at Motor City Solutions making the family's dream a reality.
Didn't think it was going to happen, in all fairness.
Well, we got it pretty much sorted out. It is drivable, but it does need some attention.
The family came in for the big reveal, seeing Richard's Roadrunner on the road again.
It's great to see it go. These guys did a great job. It sounds great. Better than I've ever heard it.
This was awesome.
He's looking down on us right now, blown away with excitement. I know he is.
What a great story. That does take us to our first break of the show, but when we get back, Joe Charlevoix will give us an insight look at how weather is going to be for the rest of our work week as we're just getting it started here today. Keep it here.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back. Many of us in northern Michigan had some rain today, but things look pretty blue right now. But we're going to bring in our meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix, because earlier, Joe, you mentioned potentially some smoke returning to the forecast. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so it was nice because we kind of got rid of that last week, the middle of last week, but it looks like another plume of this, which is right now up in central Canada, will drop in here probably around the Wednesday timeframe, maybe into Thursday. So we'll keep an eye on that. You know, the wind could shift a little bit, but it looks like maybe midweek some smoke. Take a look at that picture. This was in, Brimley. That's in Chippewa County. Steve's sending this one in. Some stormy skies. We've had storms over the course of the weekend at times. That was in Brimley. And then here's a lookout over Lake Michigan at Frankfort, at the beach in Frankfort. Matthew sending this one in. I believe this is Saturday late afternoon and evening. You can see the storm out over the lake there. And if you look closely, you can see some people are starting to pack things up. I would too. Yeah. Here's a look at today. We did have some showers and storms earlier today, kind of working across the state. No severe weather with these, but they did drop a couple heavier downpours earlier. There's not a whole lot left with this. The only rain, really, a couple blips here right there near Alpena, and then also up across the UP. In fact, we just talked about Brimley Bay Mills. There it is. That's where we have some brief heavy rain coming down just off to the west there of Sault Ste. Marie. No big deal with that, however. If you look upstream, up by Winnipeg and the Dakotas, that cold front is going to arrive here tomorrow evening. Ahead of that, there will be some showers and storms. So we have one more day with the chance for rain tomorrow. Here's what that looks like. Pretty quiet tonight. But then tomorrow morning into the early to mid-afternoon, you see that area of rain right there. Some storms. This is 11, 12, 1 o'clock. Wet. And then this is out ahead of the front, and then our actual front is up in the UP, and then see some storms develop along our frontal boundary right there. So tomorrow evening, we could see kind of like 2 rounds. One here, and then another round right there tomorrow evening of rain and storms. And then after they depart, we're looking at 3 straight dry days. Looks like dry weather Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The severe weather outlook for tomorrow, very low. A marginal risk, parts of the UP, northeast Wisconsin, and then southern Michigan, central Michigan, south of Alpena. That means maybe a stronger storm or two, but the wind fields are kind of anemic. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of that. You touched on, Cody, earlier, the air quality. If you look at Minnesota tonight, unhealthy air. Here's that smoke and what we were talking about. That air over Minnesota might dissipate, but then here comes this next one right there. And that'll kind of drop perhaps into northern Michigan on a Wednesday. So we'll keep an eye on that with regard to the smoke. So here's our extended forecast. And again, scattered rain and thunderstorms tomorrow at times. And then the humidity drops. The temperature will drop down a little bit too, Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, most areas dry. It will be a little warmer, low and mid 80s Friday, a couple showers. And then it looks like another front comes in to start the weekend. So yes, it's Monday, but we like to look ahead to the weekend here any day of the week. And Saturday, chance for a couple showers and storms early next weekend. But overall, pretty quiet week coming up. We'll just keep an eye on that chance for rain and storms tomorrow. And then the humidity goes down. Pretty nice stretch of weather.
Yeah, happy to see some of those temperatures and especially that humidity going down a little bit.
It's nice to get a little break. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so that's nice. Thank you, Joe. We're going to take another quick break, but when we return, we'll talk to Sports Director Harrison Beebe as the Pittsburghers get ready for really continuing their first round series of the playoffs. Keep it here. We'll be right back. The Traverse City Pittsbitters now in the playoffs with a highly anticipated home game tonight. So we're going to bring in our sports director, Harrison Beebe. And Harrison, looks like you're there right now.
I'm here, Cody. I tried to get in the lineup at the last minute, play
Yeah.
shortstop, my favorite position, but
absolutely, I would trust you.
Yeah, I bet you would. They denied that pretty bad. Not to mention the fact that I'm not a college athlete. That's a big main reason why they wouldn't let me on the roster. But yeah, playoff mode is here at Turtle Creek Stadium. They have the best record in the Northwoods League, so as long as they keep winning, they're going to keep hosting games this week here at Turtle Creek Stadium. And there starts with the Great Lakes East Divisional matchup. It's a best 2 of 3 against Kalamazoo. They already won game 1 last night, 6-1. And they've got the Growlers here tonight. If they win, they advance to the Final Four of this tournament and the Great Lakes Championship game. If they lose tonight, it's a best of 3, so they would play one more game here tomorrow night. So a lot of factors still to be determined as far as the schedule and where teams go from here, and that's included in the other playoff matchups as well. But as we mentioned here in the quarterfinal round, technically, the semifinals, which are the Great Lakes Championship game, if the Pittsbitters make it there, that's a 1-game advance. And then the championship game for the Northwoods League is the Great Lakes champion versus the Great Plains champion. That would be a 1-game winner take all as well. After all, we got to get these teams and these players back to their colleges to start their seasons at whichever campuses they are. So they kind of have to wrap things up pretty quick in this Northwoods League playoffs. But that continues tonight here at Turtle Creek, and we'll have highlights of the boys at 11.
Yeah, and while you're there, before we let you go, because I know big game, playoff game, and things are getting started soon, how is the atmosphere right there?
Pretty good atmosphere. Monday, it's not the best night to be able to carve out time to head out to the ballpark. So it isn't as packed as it is on, say, a Friday or a Saturday. But as we get later in the week, if this team keeps winning and the way they've been this season, we're not going to be shocked to see them probably host through the end of the week here. I'm going to expect the crowds to get a little bigger every night.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Harrison, thank you so much for joining us, breaking down that first round series a little bit. We'll be keeping an eye on that tonight. And as he mentioned, highlights from that big game tonight on Up North Live News at 11. We're going to take our final break of the show, but when we get back, we'll take one final look of the question of the day. You still have time to vote on our website, upnorthlive.com, or our Up North Live Facebook page. See if you can change those numbers a little bit before we take one final look. We'll be right back.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Welcome back to Unscripted. We're taking one final look at our question of the day. It says, the governor made an appearance on the west side of the state, speaking in Grand Rapids in the run-up to back to school. Governor Whitmer says the impacts of tariff-induced higher prices are already being felt. Those financial impacts hitting parents during those back-to-school shopping trips, and in many cases blowing back on the teachers themselves, who frequently buy many of their own classroom supplies. So our question of the day, based on that, is, are you spending more on school supplies this year? As of right now, 40% of people saying yes and 60% of people saying no. If you voted in that, thanks so much for voting. And in our Facebook comment section, thank you for weighing in on what you think. And thank you for watching Unscripted tonight. Have a great night, Northern Michigan.